Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bash on the Buttons. I'm TJ Stevens. Let's wrap up WCW versus the World, please. This game, I thought I was starting with a low bar when we started this show out with WWF Warzone. And yikes. This game, I'm gonna look up the reviews this game got in the time. And I'm going to review it myself because this is up there for not just one of the worst wrestling games I ever played, just one of the worst games I ever played. And of course, we'll get ready for WrestleMania X8 is the next game we're starting. There's a real good chance I'm going to hop back on here this week and do some more Warzone and see if we can win the WWF title together. And we also need to discuss this. So after this, I'm on midnights right now at work. That's why we didn't go Friday night because I was switching my sleep over. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so because of that, didn't do Friday. We're doing tonight. Again, we're going to do one other night this week and do Warzone. But after I work Wednesday night for Thursday, so tomorrow night, I'm on vacation through the new year, and I'm not going to be in town. I'm going to be gone in North Carolina seeing my mom and my sister. So there will be no Bash on the Buttons until next year. And what a better way to start the new year than getting away from PlayStation 1 games, specifically this one, and going to the Nintendo GameCube, arguably one of the most underrated gaming consoles ever. I put it right up there with the Sega Dreamcast. And we're going to start out strong. WrestleMania 18. And of course, after that, we have WWF Super WrestleMania for Super Nintendo. And then we are wrapping this 4 block up with Pro Wrestling for NES. This is the last one. So we kind of already discussed, and yes, I'm filibustering as much as I can to not have to play this game. So we've kind of discussed already what the next 4 block is going to be. And of course, in week 2 of Pro Wrestling for NES, we'll release a new poll that we can vote on. So I just purchased Royal Rumble for Dreamcast. So that will be on there. Royal Rumble for Dreamcast. Let's do... All my games are in the other room. Let's do World Tour, WCW NWO World Tour for Nintendo 64. Let's do... See, I want to do SmackDown, but again, we're right back to PlayStation. I need to give my PlayStation a rest. She's old. I think I have WWF Raw for Sega Genesis. So maybe we'll throw the... Oh, I know. WWF In Your House for Sega Saturn. We'll throw that on there. There we go. Maybe our Nintendo game will be WCW Pro Wrestling for NES. That'll be our next poll. But in the meantime, we need to get through this game. So again, no show after this week. No show until after the new year. And then we're starting right back up WWF WrestleMania X8. Also, if you've been watching the show since the beginning, I've kind of been plugging this idea that may be happening at Top Guy Rumble this year. It is not. I found out the charity board I'm a member of, our biggest show of the year that we do is that weekend. So I'm going to be here home working that. And so I'm still not going to say what the game was. I'm not going to say what the idea was. I'm just going to table it. We're going to hold on to it and hopefully save it for a rainy day. So that will not be happening. But I've been talking, Efren, my good longtime close personal friend Efren. That man's got some tricks up his sleeve. All I'm saying is keep an eye out in Atlanta for the man in the crazy suits, Efren. He sounds like he's got something planned. Okay. So you got that to look forward to. Not to mention whatever Conrad Thompson and ad-free shows concocts up between now and then. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. I'm upset I can't go because I was looking forward to both being there, obviously, with everyone, and then doing something with this show there. But again, we'll save it. Save it for a rainy day. This show ain't going anywhere. Just like this game is not going anywhere unless we start playing it. So let's start playing it. At least, you know. So I don't know about you guys, but I will randomly go back and just start watching like old WCW. Unprompted for no reason at all. And I was at work last night, or was I? Wink. And I was at work, and I started watching Nitro from the beginning. So September 4th, 1995. Mall of America, the first Nitro. I watched it last night, and I'm through. I'm getting to. Do we have to restart out of the gate? That is not a great sign. I just made it through War Games. This game sucks. And I'm working towards. Yep, we got to reset already. Out of the gate. What a start. I think this is 6 resets we've had to do with this game now. And again, if you're just tuning in, got some new people just popped in. If you're just tuning in, this is not an emulator. This is my actual PlayStation. So it gets angry sometimes. But anyway, so I just made it through War Games, which if you're wondering, like, hey, what was the War Games in 1995? It was Hogan, Luger, Savage, and Sting. When they didn't know if Luger had obviously just came back to the company at the first Nitro. They weren't sure if Luger was for or against Hogan. Was very upfront in saying he wanted to be world champion. But you had that storyline going on. And then on the other side, you had, and I can't believe this happened on pay-per-view, Kamala, Mang, the Shark, and Zodiac. And if Team Hulksters won, Hogan got Sullivan one-on-one in the cage by himself. So obviously, Hulk Hogan won because I don't know if that stipulation's ever been made. And then the person who gets to have the other person in the ring, if they win, lost. So Hulksters won. And then who do I want to be? Let's try Flair. And the Giant came out, but in the meantime, all of Team Hogan and the Dungeon left ringside, which I didn't hate that part. It was weird, but I didn't hate it. And then the Giant came out and just twisted Hulk Hogan's head off, which is fun. And right now I'm building to Halloween Havoc 95. So Chris Benoit is getting ready to debut, I believe, on the Nitro I'm on now. Eddie and Dean had just debuted, and they're doing their thing. Actually, they just had their first match on Nitro, the one I just watched. And that main event for Halloween Havoc 95 was Hogan versus the Giant in the monster truck, whatever the hell they did, when the Giant was murdered. And we're still not going to play this game. And then what was the other one? Then they had the match with the Yeti came out and had, intercourse with Hogan. So 1995 WCW is awful. So I will remind everyone who's watching this show and is like, what the hell is going on? He's yet to play this game. When we played Warzone for 3 weeks, I had to reset the game 0 times. Now, I reset it twice, but that was because I lost, not because the game was malfunctioning. I believe between last show and this one, we're almost to double digits. I've had to reset this game. Now, whoever Cocapelli is, and I believe this was, was this a THQ game? I don't know what Asmic is, but whoever made this game, they apparently did not have their act together, because this game has been a disaster from one end to the other since we started playing it. Love the entrance video. I enjoy that part. But we can't get past. Maybe we should just watch the entrance video on loop for an hour, and then we can be done with this game. The Moon 1017 on YouTube says, "What the hell?" I agree. Again, we played Warzone. We had no issues. Same PlayStation. So I have a hard time believing the PlayStation just suddenly sprung an issue and decided it didn't want to play games anymore. And also through our 3-week sort of traverse through this game, we still don't understand like how do you win titles and all that other stuff. Like there's no storyline mode, there's tournaments, there's this league challenge. It's amazing they had such a roster. Are you serious? This is good. Let's check the disc, shall we? Hey, TJ, you should do a show with all your video games from 1994. What's the worst that can happen? And we do have some smudges. Get rid of those. Have some smudgies. She's a little scratched up. So this is one of the games I bought on eBay. It's not in terrible shape, but it's a little scratched up. Throw it back in. So yeah, WCW 95, not great. Again, every time I see the Zodiac on television, or the Booty Man, or actually the Disciple, I didn't hate. I actually kind of wish they would have made the Disciple like, to me, that's the best thing Brutus Beefcake ever did, was the Disciple. One, I didn't know it was him because I was 13 at the time. I didn't know you could just recast wrestlers to do other stuff at the time, except for Mick Foley because he did it to himself. And but anytime I saw again Zodiac or the Butcher before that, or Beefcake, or actually didn't see Beefcake, that actually would have been a welcome surprise, and that's not a compliment. Or the Booty Man, like I look and I go, what? Like this is what we were doing back then. The Booty Man. Again, great looking entrance video or introduction video. We'll see if we can actually play the game this time. I got a feeling about try number 4. A good feeling. I would say if I can't get it to work in like another turn or two, I think I might just throw in Warzone. But here's the problem. I just reorganized my office. As you can see, a lot of room in here. I just moved all my games into the other room in a lockable cabinet because my son has found them and started putting the games where he sees fit, and I can't always find them. So I would have to leave the room to go get them, is what I'm saying. And I got to find the keys and unlock the cabinet and pick a new game, or find Warzone, I should say. I got a good feeling about this one, guys. I think we're going to get to do it. Ooh. And also, like, something's happening. There we go. All right, Scott Steiner. I'm going to whoop your ass. Look at that singlet they put on Scott Steiner. Oh, boy. Slap. Oh, he blocked it. What a douche. So again, through our 3-week trek through this game, drop kick to your face. The control scheme is wildly confusing. Like, I know you can grapple, I know you can kick, all the other stuff. I don't really know, other than weak grapples and power grapples. I don't really fully understand how the grapple system works. And here's another fun thing. I don't know if you guys have ever bought anything on eBay. It's a relatively new thing. You may have heard of it. I ordered the strategy guide for this game before we did episode 1. So 4 weeks ago, I ordered that. I believe the exact purchase date was November 19th. And now, mind you, looking at the camera. I'm looking at the camera in case he's watching. This is a guy who sells baseball cards and football cards on eBay. And I take immense pride on not only selling the cards, but when you make the purchase, depending on the time of day, they will either be at the post office the next morning or that afternoon. If you buy it to me at nighttime, when I go to bed, that card is packed in a box and waiting to go. Shipping label on it. Next day, it's headed to your house. Weirdly enough, I sent someone a baseball card like 2 months ago, and it took 5 weeks to get to their house. TJ, where they live, Cambodia, Mississippi. So, like, I would be willing to excuse that, you know, because I know it's the holidays and everything else. But if you ever look closely on the eBay shipping timeline, there's 3 check marks. There's item purchased, shipping available, and then item delivered. The second one, the second check mark, shipping or tracking available, that is literally just you putting a shipping label on it. I can print off a shipping label at my house, put it on a box, and leave it here for a month. And that second step will be done. That's all you have to do is print off a shipping label. It's still that still hasn't happened yet. So I had to DM him today and being like, hey, that shit I bought, are you gonna mail it like this year? Or I mean literally this year. Like dude, if you're gonna sell stuff on eBay, just have some pride. Like if somebody buys something, actually ship it at a reasonable time. I just, and it was like, I'm not mad at the money. It was a $12 purchase. Like it is what it is. But just like for me to buy something 5 weeks ago and you haven't even put a shipping label on it yet, I like there's, and I can tell you this from a guy in the baseball card community, there's way too many people in both the card industry and eBay shipping. Not everyone should be allowed on eBay and to sell stuff. Like if you can't fulfill your basic duties on eBay, like you should just have your account banned. Because like if somebody buys something from you, get that shit in the mail, homie. Like what? you don't need it anymore. That's why you were selling it. Chop. And I'm off my soapbox. So what else was going on in WCW 95 where I'm watching right now? Disco Inferno just started emerging. So that's cool. You got Flair and Arn feuding. And Flair just teamed up with Pillman. Pillman helped Arn at by the way, the ducking on this game by the computer is asinine. Yeah, that's what you get. Oh, he did reverse it. So Arn just teamed with Pillman at War Games to help Arn beat Flair. Now it was Arn versus Flair, it wasn't a team. Pillman came out of the crowd and helped Arn get the win. I think he slapped Flair in the back of the head with his boot, I think. So we're getting real close to Arn and Flair, or Arn and Pillman against Sting and Flair, and Flair will turn on Sting for the 9,000th time, and you will have the reformation over the Horsemen, which of course then means eventually you're going to get Mongo after he turns on Kevin Green, all that fun stuff. Great. That was a drop kick right in the mush. What else is going on? Dungeon of Doom and Hogan. Luger is at Halloween Havoc 95. Luger is fighting Meng. Savage is fighting Kamala. And if they each win the perspective match, they get to face each other later on to settle their beef, which is the dumbest shit ever. Like, why? Like, my reward for winning a match is I get to wrestle another one. But that doesn't, unless you're in a tournament, that sounds terrible. The Cruiserweight title, I don't believe is a thing yet, which is fun. TJ, you put any effort into winning this match right now? Absolutely not. I am so over this game. I hate this game with a passion. Now I know why. I may have played this game once in real time when I was a kid, and now I know why I don't remember it. Because I mean, I definitely would have played this game and been like, no, never again. I'm good. Cruiserweight title, not a thing. The TV champion was just Diamond Dallas Page. He won it at War Games, and he beat the Renegade. That's happening. How about a pin? That's not what I meant to pick him up. Yeah, the Renegade, still a thing here in 95. And it's so blatantly obvious that what it was, because they just they talk about him almost the same exact way you talk about the Warrior. Like it's so blatantly obvious. It's fun. I enjoy it. Right in the kidney. Quit blocking. Block that. Oh, he did. What else is happening in 95 in WCW? Scott Norton just showed up. He invaded the first Nitro, got into a nose-to-nose with Savage. I believe Savage beat him on the next Nitro, and I haven't seen Scott Norton since. But it is cool to see like the beginnings of the Cruiserweight division. So you got Malenko and Eddie, and then Benoit is coming. I just lost. Really, I got my ass kicked. See, the TV champ is DDP, and he's still gimmick to the nines. U.S. champ is Sting. Your world champion is Hogan. Your tag champs, you ready for this? The American males just upset Harlem Heat on like the 4th episode of Nitro, when the Nasty Boys interfered. So, and you got Colonel Robert Parker and Sherry getting ready to get married. Darren Staley, he's here with us. He says he invented the phrase "hate with a passion." That is me watching most of WCW 1995. Like the crazy thing is like WWF was bad in 95. Yeah, we're going easy because I just got embarrassed on the YouTubes and Twitch. WWF was goofy in 95. Well, I shouldn't say goofy. They didn't have anything compelling. And you had things like Men on a Mission and not the greatest stuff in the world. But like what they were doing wasn't completely outside the realm of possibilities. Like I could believe there was a clown turned dick and he's just being an asshole to children and beating people up like that. I can understand. A weird part of me can believe that. There is nothing believable about a crew of just face painted goofballs trying to beat up Hulk Hogan and literally breaking his neck on pay-per-view, only for Hogan to show up the next week with a neck brace on and call out the Giant. Like it's so bad. And again, I'm not excusing WWF. It was also bad, but it was a lot closer to being something watchable than WCW. WCW 95 was ass. Like it just was. And here's the thing, like you had things like Arn and Flair. Great promos, great matches. Love they're getting Pillman involved. And then the next match is the Devil. And then Kamala, the Zodiac, Meng, and the Shark. All of whom are wearing face paint. Even Meng had face paint on. And then you had Cobra and Sergeant Pittman. When Sergeant Pittman comes down from the rafters because he sends a recruit out to talk to Cobra, who I think was Prince Iakea. I could be wrong. By the way, Prince Iakea is probably going to be a thing soon. I was real excited because I thought I was going to get to watch the Blue Bloods on an episode of Nitro. So Regal and I don't know if it was Eaton or Dave Taylor. I couldn't see it, but they got attacked immediately coming out of the entranceway. So that didn't happen. Like there's in the WWF, there's like, I would say overall the product, albeit a little cornball at times, overall was better just from a believability standpoint. I'll say that. WCW, like the pieces were there. And I mean, you could watch the shows and realize they're starting to figure it out. But woof, it took a long time to brush off Hogan. This worked in '87, so it's going to work now. It's an interesting dichotomy to see. I'm just going to submit. He's already got fighting spirit. We've been wrestling for 1 minute and 12 seconds. Oh, my Lanta, come here. So again, Halloween Havoc, arguably one of the worst pay-per-view main events of all time. When you combine everything into one package, it's so bad. But World War III, I believe the Giant wins that, right? Yeah, Randy Savage wins it. So we got that to look forward to. I'm a big Macho Man fan, as I've said before on the show. Kick. Is he on this game? I don't think he is. And, the nice thing about Nitros, as bad as it is, we only have to make it 9 months or 8 months, and then Hall and Nash show up. And then the hottest period of wrestling begins. So I'm looking forward to that. But again, I don't know if we've talked about it on this show. I've talked about it on the other shows we do. I think I've just gotten to the point. I don't watch wrestling hardly at all anymore. Like Survivor Series was the first time in quite some time that one of the big 4 pay-per-views happened, and I didn't watch it, and I didn't really care to. And like I think I've just, I don't know, like I could easily sit here and shit on AEW, but I'm not going to, because everyone else does it. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, and bless them for it. If that's what they want to do, that's great. It's not for me, and that's fine. Not everything is supposed to be for me. That's okay. WWE, like, they have people I'm interested in, but as far as just like a storyline that captivates me or anything like that, no, not a thing. And I don't know how you get back there. I don't know what the answer is. I don't have that wand available to me. But like, I don't know. But I will tell you this. I go on Twitter every day, mostly to read the news. And that might sound weird, but as someone who did a lot of research in college, I actually know how to vet out sources and stuff like that. And there's a handful of select journalists, independent journalists that I read and believe, and as opposed to just like mainstream media. If you watch like Fox or CNN, I didn't mean to get into this, by the way. It'll be short. If you watch like Fox or CNN or CBS News or any of that stuff, and you're like, oh, they're telling me the truth, they're not. Any of them. And that's across the parties. That's not specific to any party, Democrat or Republicans, the way it is. You got to find independent journalists that are good to get your news. But like wrestling journalists, I see stuff that they post online, and I'm going to give you an example. In like when I realized that wrestling journalism was a thing, because obviously I didn't for a while because it hadn't been a thing for all that long. And I got excited because I was like, ooh, this would be a fun thing to try to get into. And then I read reports. And the one thing about wrestling journalism I cannot stand is we've had this, again, I've been watching clips. I haven't watched any of the shows. But you have this mystery man for the Vision. And I'm like, okay, like I'm always intrigued by a mystery man because this could go any number of ways, right? Like this could be someone who is new and needs a push. This is someone I just won by tap out. This could be someone who, needed a fresh coat of paint and they're ready to make a name for themselves or returning from whatever. But like the intrigue of not knowing who that is what I find fun, or I used to. And I started seeing this masked guy on Raw showing up for the Vision. And I read Right. I mean, right below the clip of me seeing it for the first time, like the night after or the day after it happened, there's 2 reports back to back on my timeline that say, here's the report on who the masked man is. Like, to have the position of like social media newsbreaker and being in the wrestling space and having the potential to have all these contacts and potential like actual riveting stories that let people peer in to like the dark, well, that's not the right phrase, but like the behind the scenes stuff without going behind the scenes. I don't need to know what's going on in every booking meeting, and I don't care. But you have the potential to write all these different stories, do all these interviews, do all these exciting things. And what do? You post spoilers. That's what we're doing now. Like, I have all these sources. Let me just ruin everyone's watching experience. And they all do it, and I hate every one of them. Like, they're not journalists, they're fucking hacks. Pardon my language, it gets me hot because again, I wanted to be a journalist. That's what I went to college for. And to see them have, and listen, a lot of them are good. They have the potential as interviewers or article writers, whatever the case is, to break wrestling news. They have that potential. They just choose not to, which is even more frustrating because it gives journalism as a whole in the wrestling landscape a bad name. Oh, are you guys curious about who the masked man is? Don't. It's this guy. Like, you can't let people just enjoy stuff anymore. I need to be the one that tells them. That's Austin Theory. Thank you, douche. Like, I think the reason why, and this hasn't been talked about enough, I think it should be talked about more. The reason why I think wrestling got hot again in the mid to late 90s is, for obvious reasons, the product got better. Characters got more riveting, got a little bit more real. But also, we didn't have the internet was in its infancy. Like, mass spoilers wasn't a thing. And now you just, like every year there's a Royal Rumble. How many reports do you see of like, these are the 5 guys that could win it? Well, these are the rumor guys are talking about in the booking meetings backstage who's going to win. Like, stop. Like, again, to have all these contacts, allegedly, I should say that too, allegedly have all these contacts in the wrestling business and have all this ability and have all this knowledge, and you choose to be a rat and just ruin people's viewing experience so you sound smarter, annoys me to no end. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Thank you for listening to Get Off My Porch. Oh, so after this match, we're going to look at what this game got rating-wise in real time. And then I told you I was going to rate it, what I think of it, which if you've been watching the show since the beginning, you know what I think of this game. It is a dog ass. But I'm curious to see what it got. I think I read it in episode 1 and was surprised at how, like, this game has no business being this high. Now, granted, we haven't played it yet, so I didn't know. But we know now. Weird, I was just talking about Eddie and Dean being on Nitro, and here we are. I miss, I will say, like, watching WCW old school stuff, I will say, I'm just going to stay in there, I miss WCW to no end. And the funny thing is, like, when I was growing up, I didn't know about WCW. I grew up a WWF kid. Started watching in 89, WWF. I think I'd seen a few, like, episode or stumbled across a few episodes of WCW Saturday Night, because I remember seeing the Harlem Heat early, like in 95, 96. Well, I shouldn't say 94, 95 is what I should say. But I didn't know what it was. Because, again, as an ignorant kid from Indiana in the Chicagoland area, I thought WWF was it. So when I saw this other wrestling company, I'm like, ew, who is trying to be them? I didn't know any better. And I would say, when did I start watching WCW regularly? I would love to be romantic about it and say it was when Hogan turned, but I think it was before that. I know I wasn't watching Nitro from the beginning. I'm not going to claim that either. but it took me a while to find Nitro. But to be in that time, and what we would do is my cousin and I, we would record Raw one week and watch Nitro live, and then the other week we would do the opposite. The next week we would do the opposite. So somewhere in this world, there's a bevy of tapes of like 2 years worth of Nitro and Raws that we recorded. And I just miss those days, man. It was can't miss television. There was so many people, Austin, The Rock, Foley, the NWO, Jericho. There was so many people that were on being showcased at that time you could not miss. And again, now I'm like, I'm good. Well, this is fun. I just got my fighting spirit, and I don't know how to do finishing moves. So let's do. I was Googling pictures of Jared Lorenzen today. Versus the World finishing move. For my filling your spit mirror, then executing specific grapples and. Oh, you serious? Oh, okay. Looks like it's just a strong grapple. It's not. So I'm not doing the Texas Cloverleaf right now. Right meow. Hey. Why do you keep letting it go, bro? Bruh. That's fun. I am not in the least bit upset that we're going to go 3 weeks of this game. I'm not going to figure out how to do finishers. Like normally, all fairness, all kidding aside, normally I would like research this and like figure everything out by the end of the 3 weeks. This game, I did not care. This game is so bad, it has sapped my will to live. You know, and there's another guy I was watching in the early Nitro. And to this day, like I'm baffled that like Alex Wright, how did they not do anything with Alex Wright? He was so good. And he just sat there on their roster and they did nothing with him, which is bananas to me. Like I just saw him in a match. He wrestled Sabu. Oh, I forgot Sabu was in WCW at this time. And he beat him. And I remember hearing them say during the match that he had just turned 20 in 95. Like they had nothing but time with Alex Wright, and they just did nothing. And you cannot sit here and tell me it was because he was German and they couldn't do anything with him, because I'll call you a liar. Like to have that, he was a good looking kid. He was really good in the ring, and to just not like one of those drops. In my opinion, I'm sure the guys at WCW might disagree, but like to me, it's a miss that they didn't do that. Reception. So let's talk ratings for this game as we get ready for the next one. So Game Rankings gave it 74%. All Game gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is batshit. I'm not going to trust anything All Game ever says to me. Let's see. Electronic Gaming Monthly, for all your great electronic nerd news, gave it 7 3/4 out of 10. Famitsu, which I don't know what that is, but it gave it 25 out of 40, which is stupid. Game Informer, they're credible. I used to read Game Informer. 8 out of 10. GameSpot 6.3 out of 10. That's more like it, although it's still kind of high. IGN gave it 6 out of 10. Joypad, this is along my level, 40%, and Next Generation gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So, if you asked me to rate this game, TJ, what rating would you give this game? I think I would give it a 3 out of 10, and that's generous. Now, It's interesting. What would I have given it in 1998 had I played it, or 1997 had I played it live? I don't know, because back in those days, this giant roster and everything else would have been enough to get me excited. Like I could have overlooked a lot of stuff. But again, there's no discernible way to like win the WWF title. As goofy as Warzone is in that aspect of like you got to beat 900 people, and then while you're at it, they can rematch you at any time in a cage or weapons match, is obnoxious. But there is a discernible route to go and win the WWF title. That doesn't exist on this game. I have, again, 3 weeks from playing this game, I have no idea how you go and win the title on this game. I can't fault the graphics for as goofy as they look, but in 1997, this was the shit. So I can't argue that. The controls, again, are confusing, to say the least. Like, if you're watching this for the first time, you're like, man, he's just spamming. I don't know what else to do. Again, this is what he does. Love the roster. Big fan of that. I don't hate, again, to me, if you're going to take all this time to build a ring in game with a logo on it, like, why wouldn't you just build the actual WCW? Like, if this would have been the blue ring with the yellow WCW bullseye on it, or the Nitro logo, I'm in. But instead you gave us this. What is this? What is that? Actually, I just recognized, you know where that's from? If you go back and watch, like when they would do like WCW power plant commercials, they'd have a poster on the TV that would say WCW, where the big boys play. That is the WCW from that ransom note looking thing. That's it. I hate that I knew that. I'm a nerd. But like, to me, they had something here with this game, and it just has no direction. It's kind of bizarre. Oh, but they would redeem themselves 6 months after this game was released, because that's when they'd have WCW versus NWO World Tour, and that just completely revolutionized and revitalized, well, really brought to life for the first time the wrestling video game landscape, because up until that point it wasn't a thing. Like, WCW had games, they were garbage for the most part. Oh, he taunted me. Shane64 over on YouTube. This is an actual PlayStation 1, yes. And yeah, World Tour on N64. I mean, obviously, man, my eye itches. I'm obviously going to give the edge in like ranking my favorite games. I'm going to give it to Revenge, because it was just that little bit much better. But World Tour is up there for sure. It's top maybe 4. And to be honest with you, like, okay, well, what three are with it? I don't know if I could list those right now. For sure. So, like, to me, I lump World Tour, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy. I lump them together, because to me, they're almost the same thing. Now, No Mercy out of the bunch is my favorite, because I like the storyline mode in that game. I love it. Get the different belts. Big fan. Again, a clear-cut way to win all the belts. I like that. And again, if you noticed, we played Warzone last week. Again, if that, what is he doing? If that wasn't the first game to utilize create a wrestler, it's one of them. It's like for one of 2, like, but for sure it's the first one I can remember. Revenge and World Tour, you couldn't create a wrestler, but you could change existing wrestlers on the game to a different person. And really all you can do is change your name. Shane64 says Revenge was better, but when World Tour came out, I played all the time. Oh, bro, I wore them out. Like in 97, 98 with World Tour and Revenge, I had to replace them in 64 controllers. Just hammering the joystick to get some finishers in. So I will say, now that we've turned it on easy, this game isn't unbearable. I still don't like it. I'm very excited to be done with this game after this show. But, like, I'd probably put WWF Raw for Sega Genesis up there only for nostalgia's sake. And I believe that was the first game that had theme music. They didn't come out to it. When, like, you were in the character select screen and you'd hover over someone's face and description, it would play their music. Now it was shitty. It was 16-bit or 8-bit music, but you could tell what it was. So I put that game up there. Again, a dark horse of mine, and it's going to be on the poll. It'll be on the next 4-pack of episodes we do. Is Royal Rumble for Dreamcast to me is underrated. And it might be because I'm a homer for the Dreamcast. I think the Dreamcast was about a year and a half too early. And let me clarify that. They rushed. They came out before they were ready. They didn't have a good release library. Their main selling point was Crazy Taxi. And again, no disrespect to Crazy Taxi, but that's not a headline video game. This is not. Their marketing was less than ideal. And they just, again, I will sit here and be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Dreamcast was the first console to be like maybe capable of being online, but definitely marketed to be online. It had its own web browser. I have the web browser disc for the Dreamcast. And it came with just a 300-yard phone cord. Let's see what else. See, WrestleMania 18 after the new year, start playing that. I'm looking forward to that. I've never played that, and I had a Dreamcast, but I didn't have that game. I think I had Day of Reckoning, but I didn't have WrestleMania 18 or 19, which I didn't even know was a game. So I'm looking forward to playing those. But I would put Royal Rumble Dreamcast. So what we said, the N64 series, let's call it that. So World Tour, Revenge, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000. We'll lump those all together. Otherwise, for every wrestling fan, those would just dominate. Let's do WWF Raw. Royal Rumble for Dreamcast. What would be the fourth? Nice maneuver. It's a tough one. Kick. 50 years old. You know what? Probably like SmackDown 2. I'd put it up there. I think. Yeah, that sounds right. We'll go with that. I will say that there's not really a game in the 2K series that has disappointed me for a very specific reason. 2K, outside of the NBA series, NBA 2K used to be the shit. And they did what so many other games have done, and it annoys the dog shit out of me, is their whole existence is online now, and I hate that. I don't want to play other people online. I have no interest in it because I don't have the time to sit around and play video games that much that I'm going to be good and compete with other people online. It's not happening. Raven MC7, this is PlayStation 1, WCW versus the world. Indeed. But WWE 2K has been pretty good, to be fair. And again, their big, I would say, selling point is the creations aspect of it. You being able to download other people's creations. Because look, I've been creating wrestlers since 1997. I'm still not any good at it. But other people are just phenomenal at it. And I love downloading other people's creations. And no, this is the actual PlayStation, my friend. And I love that they do like the historical showcases. So like they did Austin's, they did Undertaker's. I love those. Because again, you're letting me go back and relive and sort of interact with my favorite time in wrestling. I will agree. The Sinless Assassin. Why don't I just turn the comments on so we can all watch and talk together? He says WWE 2K is all right, I suppose. Well, again, I haven't bought one since 24. I didn't buy this year's. I just don't like the changing grappling system by 2K23. Before that, it felt somewhat close to THQ with better animations. I would agree with all of that. I like anytime you change a grappling system, and I understand it has to be a massive undertaking, but when you make a change like that, and the resulting change is almost a reduction in what you was capable of before, is a mistake, and you should just go back to what you had. But who am I? But yes, I love the historical aspect of, you know, the 2K series with the showcases. I love those. Just made Lex Luger tap out with Dean Malenko. So I think an interesting conversation. I wish I would have thought of this before we had 9 minutes to go. Darren, he would love a hot dog at this moment. Old nature boy. So if I've always thought it was interesting that WCW created the cruiserweight division, right? And it became a giant part. And anyone who says otherwise is full of shit. It became a giant part of what turned the wrestling landscape in the 90s as we headed into the Attitude Era, was what the cruiserweights were doing. Eventually, they got away from that, which, again, to me was a mistake. But just towards the end, they brought it back with guys like, Shane Helms and Shannon Douglas and Jimmy Wang Yang, except he wasn't called that yet, and Jamie Noble and Kaz Hayashi and Chavo and blah, down the line, right? But you had these guys like Malenko and Eddie Guerrero, and I don't really consider Benoit a cruiserweight because he didn't look like one. He wrestled like one, but he didn't look like one. And then you had Psychosis, and you had Hoovy, and you had Rey Mysterio. And you had all these guys that just lit the wrestling world on fire. And now, granted, of course, you also had Silver King and Super Callow and El Dandy and the Villanos. I get that. But the idea that they were such a big part, and again, maybe back in the day, they didn't think they were. Maybe they were all convinced our main events are why everyone's interested, even though main events at WCW were just horrendous. Just traditionally. Like WWF couldn't do undercards to save their life in the late 90s, but their main events always were outstanding. And WCW was the complete opposite. And it was the cruiserweights, the TV title, which again gets a bad rap, but in that time frame, you had Benoit, Raven, Booker T, DDP, like just a laundry list of all these TV champions, Ultimo Dragon, and the U.S. Championship Series, or a showcase with, you know, guys like Conan and Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig and Dean Malenko and Eddie. And you had all those things working for you, and to think, no, it's Hogan, it's the NWO, specifically Hall and Nash. And I'm not blaming Hall and Nash for the record. They're very entertaining in what they were doing. But yet they never tried to take like that cruiserweight TV title caliber wrestlers on the card and moved them up to the main event just to see what would happen. Like, imagine, again, I'm watching the end of 95, so the cruiserweights aren't a thing yet. But let's move to 96. Okay. The NWO is a thing. I'm trying to remember. War Games 96. Was that Horseman or was that 97? 96. That was, I think it was Hall, Nash. Why is this so hard? Hall, Nash, Hogan. I want to say the Giant joined after. Huh. This is interesting. I can't remember. Hall, Nash. Was it 6 or it was 6? I think it was 6 because he wrestled at Sold Out 97 against Eddie. Against Sting, which is what started Crow Sting. Savage. Luger. Sting, Savage, Luger. Who was the fourth one? Did they have a fourth one? I don't remember. And but imagine, like, here's my point. I got lost in trying to be smart. Here's my point. You're leading up to Starrcade 96. Piper comes back to Halloween Havoc. And again, if you're new to this show, welcome. TJ Stevens, Bash on the Buttons. I will say until the day I die, Roddy Piper should have won the World Heavyweight title at Super Bowl 7 in San Francisco. Like, what was the point of doing the Alcatraz shit if he wasn't going to win at the end? Anyway, so let's say Starrcade 96 is, what was Starrcade 96 main event? Was that Hogan and was Hogan Piper? So I wouldn't mess with that. Although the whole idea these two are going to wrestle and the title isn't on the line is just batshit. But let's go down. So let's go to the Outsiders. So instead of I think it was Outsiders and the Steiners, I think, which is fine. Steiners were the shit. I'm not arguing that at all. But instead of them two, well, that's not a good example either because WCW wasn't really building tag teams at the time. Like, where were we going to put them high energy? But like, you had 6 there who could wrestle for all of his troubles, could have had a huge, great match with anyone at the time. And now, granted, they did try to interject 6 into the main event picture, which irritated Ric Flair to no end, which I got to be honest with you, I don't get that. And I've met Sean Waltman this year. Wonderful human being. Now, granted, I understand 96, 97, 98, probably a giant pain in the ass. I understand that. But, like, the dude was good in the ring. There was no point in Six's career where you're like, this guy is terrible. Like, he was always good in the ring. So why Flair would be upset that you have Hall and Nash and then a guy that can work? Not to say Hall couldn't, but it is baffling to me. I don't understand that. But it legit pissed Flair off. So that's why Six's main event kind of insurgence was short-lived. But let's say that it worked and they were able to get 6 in the main event picture. That's your route through the NWO, through 6. That's your route to get Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. Well, Benoit was already headed there anyway, so he's not a great example. But Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio. That's your route to get them into the main event because they're interacting with the NWO. And instead, it was just the same 8 to 10 people wrestling on every pay-per-view in the main event in perpetuity until the NWO just died a horrible death. Well, TJ, how would you have ended the NWO? I don't know, but I also know if I'd have been booking it, it wouldn't have lasted 3 years. That I can promise you. Actually, no, I do know. I don't know how long it lasted. I've always said this. Again, this ties into why I think Piper should have won the world title at Super Bowl 7 in San Francisco. Let me get some water. The one thing WCW had plenty of in 95 and 96 and even 97. Suck it, Ric Flair. Is they had main event stars just falling out of their ass. Like they were, to their credit, they were full of them. But they had a bunch of dudes on the undercard that Jeff Jarrett, that were overachieving. And kind of like, and again, it's so bizarre because the fans appreciated the TV title and the Cruiserweight title. And they, like, you can't tell me you could have had Dean Malenko versus, what would be an example, Hogan or Nash or Goldberg or anyone for the heavyweight title, and the fans wouldn't have been behind it. I mean, arguably the best. Look at Jeff Jarrett's face. Arguably the best main event Goldberg ever had was the one no one saw. That was Halloween Havoc 98. And it's because there's a very good reason for that. It's because his opponent was DDP. And DDP could actually, kind of had enough experience where he could build a match for Goldberg and kind of highlight Goldberg's strengths. And that was to turn the match into just a flat out flying, hauling ass brawl. But again, no one saw it because they went over their time allotment. But that's, arguably one of WCW's better title matches in the history of that company. And like, you can't tell me again, you couldn't have had an Eddie or a Dean or a William Regal or Rey Mysterio or any of those guys wrestle for the world title on a pay-per-view and people wouldn't have been stoked about it. I don't think that's accurate. Darren Staley said, "Who is Jeff Jarrett?" And then he says, "Also for the chat, I love Jeff Jarrett." I'm kidding. I love that he's justifying himself to the rest of the chat. What a good guy, Darren. By the way, Darren, I'm going to be headed. I don't think you were here at the beginning of the show. I'm going to be headed to your neck of the woods here Friday. I'm heading to Wilson, North Carolina. We will be stopping in West Virginia Friday night to stay at a hotel with an indoor pool because my daughter demanded it. And then Saturday we'll be in North Carolina. Wilson, and then my sister lives in just outside of Hillsborough. We will be there for 2 weeks. Looking forward to it. So this year was my 5th year working at the steel mill, which again, if you're new to this show, that is my shoot job. Is I'm an electrician at a union shop steel mill in Northern Indiana. And this year was my 5th year. So I got my 3rd week of vacation. And if you just caught it, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, which means the rest of this year I have spent 1 week of vacation, and I am real tired, and I'm looking forward to not being at work every day. So it's going to be fun. I'm unfortunately, like, this time of the year. Yeah, Raleigh, Durham. Yeah, you're right, Darren. But this time of the year is really the only time I get to see my mom and my stepdad and my sister and my nieces and nephews and stuff. So it's going to be enjoyable. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. And what's great is, with me being stationed in Hampton, Virginia, when I was stationed or in the Air Force still, like, I've made this drive probably a dozen times, if not more now. So the drive is piece of cake. Not bad. My rule of thumb is if it's less than 10 hours, I'm driving. Because airports suck. My stepdad is the safety inspector of Wilson, North Carolina. For the record, not to hashtag humble brag. You know what would have been nice to see too is I was just watching War Games 95, and Arn Anderson fought Flair. And this whole thing is confusing. We'll talk about it here. By the way, this Jarrett match will be the last match of the night because I have to go to work here soon. But Arn Anderson and Flair wrestled. And again, it was a hell of a match because of course it was. and sleeper hold. And the crowd was so hot behind Arn Anderson. Like, it was almost not believable how much the crowd was behind him. And he gets the win, again, with the help of Brian Pillman. And the crowd just eats it up. And I don't understand, like, hearing that reaction in the audience, I don't understand how they didn't elevate Arn further. Does it say I won the title? For one, the title of WCW doesn't even make sense. Like, are you calling me WCW? I am the title of that now. And also, why did I beat Jarrett for it? Is this 1999? But the crowd was so behind Arn. And again, they've never really elevated him. And then they turned him like the next week. Like, they teamed him with Pillman. So now you know that Arn's the heel. Like, I just don't understand why they did that. And then they babyface Flair. He joined Sting just so they could turn on him again. So how about this? Let's do this. So on Twitter, I will post my Twitter handle here up in just a moment. And remember, I will be hopping up back on here soon to do some Warzone and try to win the WWF title before I go on vacation. But there I am on Twitter at TStevens91. Again, we are getting ready for, we can finally put WCW versus the world to bed. Thank goodness. But we're going to be getting ready for WrestleMania X8 for GameCube after the new year. So get ready for that. I'm so excited. And then, like, if you find me on Twitter at TStevens91. I don't know where it went. Let's get it. No, why does it say for 10? Just show it. Again, my ideas for the next poll, which will be when we do Pro Wrestling for NES, we'll do the next poll. But again, what I would like to see in your house for Sega Saturn, Raw for Sega Genesis, WCW NWO World Tour, and then Tag Team Wrestling for, or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tag Team Wrestling for NES. I've never heard of that game, and I own it now. I know nothing about it. I've heard it's atrocious, and I'm excited to play it. That'll be the next poll. No, I'm sorry. There's one. Which one did I add in? Because it's supposed to be Royal Rumble for Dreamcast is going to be on it. All that being said. So, but if there's other games that you would love to see me play, which, by the way, I'm hoping I get a steering wheel and pedals for Christmas so I can come on here and also play racing games. If there's a video game you'd love to, like, see me play here on the show, like maybe one I'm forgetting or a system I'm forgetting or whatever the case, let me angle this a little bit so I'm looking at you. Let me know on Twitter at TStevens91. I will look into it. And yeah, I will see you again this week. We'll play some Warzone since I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'll do a makeup show with you. Footballers is tomorrow night. And then also this week, we are doing an episode of Drunken Pop before the holidays. So in the meantime, this has been Bash on the Buttons. Another phenomenal episode, if I may say so myself. We are finally done with WCW versus the world. Yuck. We can get ready to it's Thursday, Darren. Thursday we'll be doing Drunken Pop. We can get ready for WWF WrestleMania X8 for GameCube and just get ready for the holidays. In the meantime, everyone have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays. I will see you again this week, but you won't see me again after that, so I'm saying it now. New Year, WrestleMania X8 for GameCube. Get ready. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the holidays. And I will see you next time right here on Bash on the Buttons.